The warm evening breeze of the Portuguese Algarve carries the scent of the ocean, mingling with the low murmur of diners enjoying tapas and wine under the spring sky. It is a picturesque night designed for relaxation and the creation of pristine family memories. But behind the walls of a ground-floor holiday apartment, just a stone's throw away from the laughter and the clinking glasses, a nightmare of unimaginable proportions is silently unfolding. A small bed sits empty. A pink comfort blanket and a soft toy cat lie abandoned on the mattress. The heavy exterior metal shutter, which had been closed tight just hours before, is now raised, and the window stands open to the dark. In a matter of minutes, a 3-year-old girl has vanished into thin air, slipping through the cracks of a quiet resort to become the center of the most heavily reported missing person case in modern history. You are about to enter a labyrinth of terrifying contradictions, botched investigations, chilling coincidences, and sinister hidden motives. This is not just a story about a child who disappeared. It is a psychological descent into secrecy, media hysteria, and the haunting reality that sometimes the truth is far more disturbing than we dare to imagine. It is the final days of April 2007. The location is Praia da Luz, a tranquil village in southern Portugal known to many as Little Britain because of its immense popularity with British tourists and expatriates. A group of 9 affluent, well-educated friends, all professionals, arrive for a spring holiday at the Ocean Club Resort. Among them are Kate and Jerry, a pair of doctors from Leicestershire, England, traveling with their 3 children. A blonde-haired girl just days shy of her 4th birthday, who bears a distinctive dark strip on the iris of her right eye, and her 2-year-old twin siblings. The family is placed in apartment 5A, a ground-floor unit situated right on the corner of 2 public streets. The apartment's layout is crucial to everything that follows. Its front door opens to one street, while its rear sliding glass patio doors overlook the resort's pool, tennis courts, and an open-air tapas restaurant. A short set of steps and a low child gate lead directly from the patio to a public thoroughfare. The group quickly falls into a comfortable, deeply fateful routine. Every evening at 8:30, the 9 adults gather for dinner at the tapas restaurant. Because the restaurant is located roughly 55 meters across the resort's pool area, the parents make a collective decision. Rather than hiring the resort's babysitting service or utilizing the night creche, they leave their children asleep in their respective apartments. They implement a system of abandonment with checks, an arrangement where the adults take turns leaving the dining table every half hour to ensure the children are safe. To make this easier, Kate and Jerry leave the rear patio doors of apartment 5A closed but unlocked, allowing them to slip in and out without fumbling for keys. In a resort message book visible to staff and anyone lingering near the reception area, a note is written requesting the same table for the group every night, explicitly stating that the parents are leaving their children alone in their apartments. It is a piece of information that any predator watching the group would find utterly invaluable. Thursday, May 3rd, is the penultimate night of the holiday. The morning begins with an unsettling question from the young girl. Over breakfast, she asks her mother why she didn't come when she and her brother cried the night before. It is a haunting detail that would later leave her parents wondering if an intruder had already been inside the children's bedroom, testing the waters. But as the sunny day progresses, the unease fades. The mother notices a large brown stain on the child's pajama top, but life moves on. At 2:29 in the afternoon, the mother takes a final photograph of her daughter sitting by the pool, her feet dangling near the water. By 7 o'clock that evening, the children are put to bed. The young girl is wearing short-sleeved pink and white Eeyore pajamas. She falls asleep next to her favorite soft toy, Cuddle Cat. At 8:30, the parents leave the apartment and join their friends at the tapas restaurant. At 5 minutes past 9, Jerry makes the first check on apartment 5A. He enters through the unlocked rear patio doors. He finds the children sleeping soundly, though he notes a strange detail. The bedroom door, which he remembers leaving slightly ajar, is now almost wide open. He pulls it nearly closed again, turns around, and heads back out to the restaurant. On his way back, he stops on the narrow street to chat with a fellow British holidaymaker. 10 minutes later, at 9:15, another member of the dining party, Jane, leaves the table to check on her own children. As she walks up the street, she passes Jerry chatting with the holidaymaker. Neither man remembers seeing her walk by, a detail that would later lead Portuguese police to fiercely question her credibility. But Jane sees something else entirely. Just ahead of her, she spots a dark-haired man walking swiftly away from the vicinity of the apartments. He is Caucasian, wearing beige trousers and a dark jacket, and he does not look like a tourist. Most alarmingly, he is carrying a young child. The child is wearing light-colored pink pajamas with a floral pattern. The man is holding the child awkwardly, with his arms outstretched as if he is unused to carrying a heavy toddler. For years, this single sighting would form the absolute cornerstone of the abduction theory. A forensic sketch of this man would be circulated globally. He was the phantom in the night, the predator who slipped through the shadows. But in the world of criminal profiling and meticulous investigation, eyewitness testimony can be a dangerous mirage. Years later, Scotland Yard would make a stunning, heartbreaking revelation. The man seen at 9:15 was not an abductor. He was identified as a completely innocent British tourist, carrying his own daughter home from the resort's night crash. The pink pajamas matched. The timeline matched. The most famous sighting in the history of the case, a lead that consumed vast investigative resources, was entirely unrelated to the disappearance. Back on the night of May 3rd, the illusion of safety remains intact. At 9:30, another friend from the dining group, Matthew, offers to check on apartment 5A while checking his own unit next door. He enters the apartment and immediately notices that the children's bedroom door is once again wide open. But he only listens from the threshold. He hears no sounds of distress. He does not look far enough into the darkened room to verify if all three children are actually in their beds. He leaves, assuming all is well, unwittingly sealing the timeline of a tragedy. It is not until 10 o'clock that the devastating truth is finally discovered. Kate enters the apartment to perform her check. She moves toward the children's bedroom, noting the wide-open door. As she attempts to close it, a sudden draft violently slams the door shut. She turns and realizes the waist-high bedroom window is open. The heavy exterior metal shutter, which can only be raised from the inside using a strap, is rolled up. The twin babies are still fast asleep in their travel cots in the middle of the room. But the single bed near the door is empty. The pink blanket and cuddle cat remain, but the little girl is gone. Utter panic erupts. Screaming that someone has taken her child, Kate runs back to the restaurant. In the crucial window of time known to investigators as the golden hours, chaos completely overrides protocol. 60 resort staff and guests spend hours scouring the complex, calling the child's name into the dark. The local Portuguese police arrive just after 11 o'clock, with criminal detectives arriving after 1 in the morning. But the crime scene is fatally, catastrophically compromised. Believing the child had simply wandered off, officers fail to secure the apartment. Over the next few hours, at least 20 people walk through the crime scene, trampling over potential evidence and contaminating the environment. An officer dusts the exterior window shutter for fingerprints with bare hands, wearing no protective gloves. Border police and marine patrols are not immediately notified. Roadblocks are not erected until 10 o'clock the following morning. Motorway surveillance cameras monitoring the Spanish border are never checked. It takes Interpol 5 days to issue a global missing person alert. An untold number of vehicles slip away into the night, while the investigation stumbles blindly in the dark. With the 9/15 sighting eventually debunked, a far more credible and deeply unsettling witness account takes center stage. It is known as the Smith sighting. At approximately 10 o'clock, the exact time the mother is discovering the empty bed, an Irish family named Smith is walking back to their accommodation. 500 yards from the apartment, heading away from the Ocean Club and down a street leading toward the beach, they cross paths with a man. He is Caucasian, of average build, with short brown hair, wearing beige trousers, and he is carrying a small blonde girl. Unlike the earlier debunked sighting, this man is holding the child up against his chest in a more natural carry position. The child's arms and legs are dangling downward. The child is wearing light-colored pajamas and has pale skin. The man looks extremely uncomfortable, hurrying away from the center of town. This sighting presents a massive, unavoidable problem for the timeline. The walk from the apartment to the spot where the Smiths saw this man takes about 5 minutes. If the child was abducted at 9:55, it requires an intruder to have entered the apartment, bypassed the sleeping twins, snatched the child, and walked out into the open streets at the precise moment the mother was returning for her check. But a darker psychological tension arises from the reaction to this sighting. Private investigators hired by the family later create e-fit images of this man, yet these sketches are kept hidden from the public for years. It isn't until 2013 that Scotland Yard finally broadcasts them to the world on national television. Why was the most credible sighting of the night shrouded in secrecy? The Smiths were certain of what they saw. 9 witnesses corroborated the encounter. The man was walking toward a desolate beach area where overturned boats, storage sheds, and storm drains offered perfect temporary hiding places. Yet the narrative remained fiercely locked onto the debunked 9/15 sighting. The refusal to embrace the Smith sighting birthed a wave of suspicion, leading criminal profilers to ask a terrifying question. Was the man seen carrying the child at 10 o'clock not an abductor at all, but someone known to the child, desperately hiding a body after a fatal accident occurred during the hours of neglect? By August 2007, the investigation takes a terrifying technological turn. Desperate for answers, authorities bring in 2 highly specialized British sniffer dogs. Keela, a forensic dog trained to detect the passive scent of human blood, and Eddie, an enhanced victim recovery dog trained exclusively to bark at the scent of human cadavers. These are elite animals, calibrated to detect the scent of death even if remains have been buried, cleaned, or submerged in water. The dogs are brought into the sterile, quiet space of apartment 5A. The results send absolute shockwaves through the investigation. Both dogs alert behind the sofa in the living room. Eddie, the cadaver dog, barks to signal the scent of death near the wardrobe in the main bedroom. The dogs are then taken to a house the family rented after the disappearance, where Eddie alerts to the child's soft toy, Cuddle Cat, and to a box of the mother's clothes. In a highly controlled test in an underground car park, the dogs are walked past a line of 10 vehicles. Eddie barks furiously at the silver Renault Scenic that the parents had rented 24 days after the child vanished. The following day, Keela alerts to the trunk of the same car and specifically to the map compartment containing the ignition key. The Portuguese police abruptly shift their entire focus. They abandon the theory of a stranger abduction. On September 7, 2007, they formally declare the parents as suspects. Detectives present a chilling hypothesis. that the child died in the apartment as a result of a tragic accident, and that the parents panicked, hid the body, faked an abduction, and later used the rental car to dispose of the remains. During a grueling 11-hour interrogation, the mother exercises her legal right to remain silent, refusing to answer 48 rapid-fire questions posed by detectives. But the dog alerts mean nothing without physical proof. Hair and fibers from the apartment and the rental car are rushed to the Forensic Science Service in Birmingham, England. Using low copy number testing, scientists extract DNA from the trunk of the car. The results show a complex mixture of genetic material from at least 3 people. Out of the 37 components present, 15 match the missing child. But the British scientists hit a technological wall. They declare the results too complex for a meaningful interpretation. They cannot mathematically separate the mixture to say with certainty whether the match is genuine or pure coincidence. This scientific limitation becomes one of the greatest unwritten tragedies of the investigation. Years later, experts in advanced probabilistic genotyping software, specifically the True Allele system, which can unravel complex DNA mixtures that human eyes cannot, offer to retest the 18 evidence items for free. The technology has the power to identify exactly who left their DNA in that trunk. Yet requests to the UK Home Office, Scotland Yard, and Portuguese authorities are met with deafening silence. The refusal to apply modern science to the most critical physical evidence in the case leaves a permanent shadow over the investigation. Is there an institutional fear of uncovering a truth that contradicts millions of dollars of police work? The DNA remains locked away, an unsolved puzzle that could hold the definitive answer. Freed to leave Portugal despite their suspect status, the parents return to the UK. The global media descends into an absolute frenzy, launching an unprecedented trial by public opinion. The couple is subjected to intense, often cruel scrutiny. Tabloids analyze the mother's lack of tears, her physical appearance, branding her cold and controlled. The group of friends who dined together that night are hounded by allegations of a pact of silence. In response, a relentless PR campaign is launched. Millions of pounds are raised. The parents meet the Pope, hire elite private investigators, and launch aggressive libel suits against newspapers and the very police chiefs who dared to accuse them of staging a cover-up. Eventually, the Portuguese Attorney General archives the case, lifting the suspect's status due to a strict lack of concrete evidence. But the damage is done. The narrative of the disappearance is fractured forever, leaving a bitterly divided public. Years pass. In 2011, Scotland Yard launches Operation Grange, a massive, multi-million-pound review of the case. They pivot entirely back to the theory of a criminal act by a stranger. They look closely at the context of the resort. In the months leading up to the disappearance, there had been a 4-fold increase in burglaries in the area, with intruders frequently entering through windows. Witnesses report seeing strange men loitering near apartment 5A in the days prior. Ugly men with blonde hair watching the building. Bedraggled charity collectors aggressively asking for money at the doors of tourists. Could it have been a burglary gone horribly wrong? A targeted kidnapping by a predator who had watched the parents establish their dining routine? The possibility that someone observed the group, noted the unlocked patio door, and struck in the brief window between checks is terrifyingly plausible. Operation Grange generates over 3,800 leads, reviewing 38 potential suspects, plunging resources into tracking down sex offenders and drifters who vanished in the night. And then, in 2020, the investigation unearths its most disturbing lead yet. German authorities announce they have a prime suspect, a convicted sex offender and drifter named Christian Bruckner. At the time of the disappearance, Bruckner was living a transient life in the Algarve, residing in a battered VW camper van just miles from the Ocean Club resort. He had a lengthy, dark history. He financed his lifestyle by burglarizing holiday apartments and dealing drugs. More sinisterly, he had a horrific record of child sexual abuse dating back to his teenage years. Cell phone geolocation data places Bruckner's phone in Praia da Luz, receiving a half-hour phone call on the very night, and within 5 minutes of the exact time frame, the child vanished. The day after the disappearance, he abruptly re-registers his Jaguar vehicle to an acquaintance in Germany. But it is what police find years later that truly chills the blood. During a 2016 raid on an abandoned, derelict box factory Bruckner owned in Germany, investigators make a grim discovery. A dog digging in the dirt uncovers a plastic bag buried beneath the corpse of a dead animal. Inside are USB sticks and memory cards. As digital forensics experts comb through the 80-gigabyte hard drive, they find an archive of absolute depravity. Over 75 toddler swimsuits, miniature bikes, and images of horrific abuse. They uncover Skype chat logs where Bruckner conversed with other predators under a pseudonym, expressing a sickening desire to capture something small and use it for days. A former cellmate steps forward, claiming Bruckner boasted about entering a wealthy area in Portugal through an open window, looking for money, but finding a child instead. He allegedly bragged about escaping in a car right as the police and dogs surrounded the complex. Even more terrifying are the short stories written by the suspect himself. In these deeply disturbing fictionalized accounts, he details abduction fantasies with horrifying precision. He writes of hiding in the dark, using a rag soaked in ether to overpower a mother, and kidnapping a young girl. Another story reads, "I jump in and pick up the shaking bundle. Big scared eyes look at me. I walk her into the house. After I close this door too, I thought to myself, welcome to paradise." The word paradise echoes like a death knell through the investigation. Police discover photographs of Bruckner at a secluded reservoir in Portugal called the Arrayed Dam, located just 30 miles from where the child was taken. It is a place he frequently visited, a desolate spot he reportedly referred to as his little paradise. In May 2023, investigators descend on the dam. They cut into the earth, scouring the steep banks with radar, pickaxes, and sniffer dogs. They unearth soil samples, a rusting chair, and a blue suitcase. The items are sent to Germany for forensic analysis, leaving the world holding its breath for a breakthrough. Yet the silence that follows is deafening. German prosecutors publicly state they have concrete evidence the child is dead and that Bruckner is the killer. But under the strict thresholds of the German legal system, circumstantial evidence, no matter how overwhelming, is not enough. Without a body, without a confession, without a flawless DNA match, they refuse to bring charges, trapped in a paralyzing legal stalemate. Fast forward to September 2025. The doors of a high-security prison in northern Germany open. Christian Bruckner, having completed a 7-year sentence for the brutal 2005 rape of a 72-year-old American woman in Praia da Luz, walks free. He is driven away in a black Audi, cloaked in a blanket behind tinted windows. He has been acquitted of other historical sexual assault charges due to a lack of credible witnesses. He is fitted with an electronic ankle tag. He is forced to surrender his passport and is restricted from leaving the country. Driven out of towns by angry local residents, he is relocated to a tent hidden deep in a freezing woodland, surviving on social welfare, watched around the clock by shifts of undercover police officers. He lives in the shadows, a free man shackled by constant surveillance, while the authorities race against time to find the definitive piece of evidence that will put him back behind bars. British investigators make a final, desperate attempt to interview him just days before his release, but he flatly refuses. Almost 2 decades have passed since that warm May evening. Over £13 million have been spent. International task forces have scoured the earth. Laws regarding missing children, alerts have been rewritten, and lives have been irrevocably destroyed. Yet the truth remains trapped in a web of compromised crime scenes, untested DNA, and the silent memories of those who walk among us. The little girl in the pink pajamas is frozen in time, an eternal symbol of innocence lost to the dark. Was it a tragic accident covered up in a moment of sheer, unimaginable panic? Or was it a targeted strike by a predator lurking in the Portuguese night, waiting for a door to be left unlocked? As the prime suspect walks the woods of Germany, monitored but uncharged, the world is left to wonder what really happened in the terrifying silence of apartment 5A. And will the ghosts of Praia da Luz ever allow the truth to finally see the light of day?